Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. You guys know who it is. This is Tony Lynch. I'm the host of this podcast, and today we have an amazing guest for you guys. As always, it's going to be educational. It's going to be fun. She has an amazing story, and she's about to take us on this journey with her. Now, before I bring her up here, I would like to say that if this is your first time tuning in, and you're tuning in anywhere other than the YouTube channel, do me a favor. Look, it's scrolling across the bottom down there. Grief Let's Talk About It podcast on YouTube. Go over there, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time we drop a new episode. And maybe, just maybe this is not for you, but you may know somebody who could benefit from the conversations that we have. Do me a favor, share this along with them. And, you guys already know it's interactive. So if you guys have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. We'll be sure to answer them as we go. Now, before I bring on my next guest, I would like to say that this is for educational purposes only. And so now, without further ado, guys, help me welcome my next guest, Miss Lashanda Williams. Lashanda, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well today.
Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah. So now, before we get started, tell people who you are, where you're from, and about the work that you do.
Okay, I'm Lashanda Williams. I'm married to Jake Williams. I have two beautiful children, a son that's 5 weeks old, and a daughter that's 19. I enjoy traveling, trying different kind of foods. I'm a sexual abuse, life, and mental health coach. And I'm also an overcomer of sexual abuse, which I will share a little bit of that because that has something to do with the grievance. But I'm also an overcomer of sexual abuse, incest, and I just enjoy living life, and I love the Lord. I'm also an evangelist, so I preach the gospel. I enjoy preaching the gospel. I enjoy meeting new people, traveling, and just seeing the world. And seeing people be healed, delivered, and made whole. That's just what I do. That's who I am in a nutshell. I love to see people. That's why I share my testimony to give people hope that you may go through, but you can become an overcomer. You can become, people say survive. Yes, you can survive, but you can thrive. You can thrive in whatever it is that you're going through in your life, whatever it is that you have suffered, you can thrive. I have a business called Thrive with Purpose, because whatever it is that God has purposed and birthed inside of you, you can thrive in it. You can thrive. You can overcome anything, any obstacles or anything that happens in your life. You can be an overcomer. So I'm an overcomer today.
Hey, and I appreciate that, because a lot more people should have that faith and believe that they can overcome. I believe that a lot of people do get stuck in what we call their trauma, their grief, and things like that. And it takes individuals like ourselves to be able to walk with them. They help them get unstuck, to find purpose in the path of healing, right? But find purpose and faith as well. And so, I want to say thank you for being on the show today. Thank you for coming on and sharing your journey with us and with the audience. And so now let's kick this thing off right. Walk us through the journey of your life.
Okay, well, I start off with most people wouldn't think that sexual abuse would fall under grief, but through my journey, I've learned because I've learned what grief really is, and I'm going to share some more of my testimony about grieving of my mom's passing, my mom's death, and losing of my 3 sons. But I've also growing up went through a grievance stage of because I was sexually abused, and what really made me want to talk about the sexual abuse is because I've learned throughout with my clients that a lot of people have been sexually abused. Incest is very rapidly, but it's a topic and a subject that we don't want to discuss. But it have a lot of people, and I like to use the word stuck in life, because we think that if we bury it and don't deal with it, that it'll just magically go away. But I've learned throughout life that you can't bury it, because I tell my clients all the time, your issues that you won't deal with, they will one day deal with you. So it's best if we go ahead and deal with them, so that we won't have to let them deal with us, because that won't come out to be pretty. It won't come out to be good. But on my journey of sexual abuse when I was a child, I say about maybe 5 or 6. I'm not quite sure of the exact age. It may have been 5 or 6. But I was sexually abused, molested by a relative. And and what grieving came in at when I learned that grieving means to because of a feeling of when you've lost something. Well, as a child, when you're molested or sexually abused, you lose a part of you, and you also lose your innocence.
Hmm.
So throughout my life, that sexual abuse and no one did anything. I mean, there was no police called. No one was there to help me. And I don't understand, and I could never understand in my life, why is it when you're molested as a child in the family that everybody turns to the molester and they put the blame on you when you're the child, and they tell you, come to me when if someone touch you or someone hurt you, and then you go to them as a child to tell them and to just get told, shut up, don't say nothing about this, don't ever tell nobody nothing, and then you have to hold that in, all of your life. So that was part of my grievance. I grew up with low self-esteem because I was told by a family member that I was black, stupid, ugly, and was never going to be anything. So words, we don't understand that words can hurt. I know they have a saying, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never hurt me, but that's a lie. Words can hurt. And it did me. It caused me to have low self-esteem. I hated the skin that I was in. And so I was my life just was terrible. I was addicted to Tylenol PMs. I had gotten up to taking 7 Tylenols a night. And I don't know if you all know anything about Tylenol PMs, but they can cause liver damage.
Hmm.
And so I've never smoked marijuana, been around people who've done it. I've never done no type of drugs, far as like cocaine or none of that. But Tylenol PM, over the counter drugs, can be just as bad as a habit and addictive as that type of drug, because I hated my life so much that I was starting off taking one. So I kind of know what it is like when a crackhead says, they have to go higher to get that extra high, or someone on coke have to go higher to get the extra high. That's how it is when you're addicted to when I was addicted to Tylenol PMs. I started off with one. When one wouldn't work, I moved to two. When two wouldn't work, I moved to three. I had gotten up to 7. And in my life, I was like a zombie. I really was just like a zombie. I hated myself. I hated my life so bad that I was addicted to Tylenol PMs. And it is stemmed from the fact of the low self-esteem, from being called black, stupid, and ugly, and never was going to be anything. And then from the sexual abuse that I had to grow up with, with people saying, what, Shonda lying, he didn't do this and he didn't do that. But God know the truth. And then there are other people, and there are other cousins as well in the family that the same person done the same thing to me. And they've come to me and told me in private, but they won't openly come out like I have, because when you openly come out like this, you're attacked. You're attacked. So do you want me to pause, or you want me to continue on?
No, no, please continue. Please continue. I'm just monitoring the people, the individuals coming in. And I want to say, thank you guys for coming in. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the comment section. I did put a little notice up there. But thank you guys for coming in and tuning in. But no, keep on, please, please.
Okay. So after that, what really happened, how I got off the Tylenol PMs was, back then, I would go to the pharmacy, to the where my mom had a pharmacy that she would get her medication and stuff from, and that's where I would get the Tylenols from, because he would let me have them on credit. I didn't
Oh,
have much money, so I would get it on credit. So I had started going up there getting the big bottles of Tylenol and charging them, and I would pay my bill, but yet and still he called my mom and told my mom she needed to check on me because that's dangerous. And I come in there every week for the big thing of Tylenol PMs. So
hmm.
my mom came in the room one day, and I remember like yesterday. She knocked on the door. I didn't say anything. I was like a zombie. I was zonked out, and I felt like maybe if I sleep my life away, because my life was so miserable. I was sad, depressed. I just felt like maybe I would go to work, but when I get off of work and people would see me smiling, they would think I was just such a, so happy or whatever. But that was my outside, but on the inside I was crying and couldn't wait to get home, get them Tylenol PMs, turn my phone off, and just take the Tylenols and just want to just. Sometimes I just wish I would just die, wouldn't even wake up. That's how bad I felt. that not knowing that that's kind of like a grievance. Like I say, my childhood had been, my innocence had been stolen from my childhood, and so I was, when my mom finally got me to come to myself, she said, "Where are they at?" She went through my room, she found the Tylenol, she flushed them down the toilet. And she said, "Don't go back up there anymore and get no more of those times." So I was like, "Well, I can go to the store, but I'm gonna have to go there." And she was sad because she was like, "I didn't know that you was hooked on these things." But I really went through withdrawal because I said, "Well, I'm gonna try to get off of them." The next day when I tried to go without them Tylenol PMs, you talking about learning what it is to withdraw. Like I said, I never smoked marijuana, never did crack, cocaine, none of that. But I was vomiting. I had chills. I was shaking. I missed a couple of days of work because I was so weak and I couldn't get up. And I was terrible. So after about maybe 2.5, maybe 3 days of no Tylenol PMs, and basically no food, no nothing. And it was a blessing I didn't dehydrate. And so I went on with my life after that. And I didn't still didn't deal with the sexual abuse or anything because I wouldn't tell a lot of people about it. I still wouldn't open up and just talk about what I was feeling and what I was dealing and going through. This is taking me to the part of the grievance of my sons. I love children, love them. Wish I would have had a busload. My husband was like, "No, ma'am." but I would have had five. I only have two living. But when I got married to my husband, shortly after I got married, we moved back to Mississippi. We were living in Rockford, Illinois, and I found out I was pregnant. Oh, I was so happy because, like I said, I love children. And shortly after I found out I was pregnant, I started. It started off as a spot, and I went out to the hospital. They sent me back home, said, "Prop your feet up," and then if it get heavier, come back. I went back out to the emergency maybe 3 times. About the third time of going out there, I was passing blood clots. I'm talking about big blood clots.
Oof.
And they just let me lay back there in the hospital bed and bleed. And so my auntie had got me up and she said, "Well, we're just going to take you somewhere else." And by the time they got me there, I could hear the doctors talk, but I had lost my eyesight. I mean, everything was black, totally black. I had lost activities of my limbs. I was like a vegetable. I'm talking about slob down my mouth. I was literally a vegetable. And the doctor told my mom had one hand, my husband had the other hand. They was praying for me. And the doctor told them, he said, if you hadn't brought on, she'd have hemorrhaged and died. I couldn't respond, but he said, "Miss Williams," he said, "you've lost too much blood. We're going to have to give you a blood transfusion." Well, at this time, I had learned the power of prayer. I had a relationship with God, and I knew that and trusted and believed that He could heal me. So I'm laying on this table. I couldn't say anything with my mouth, but in my heart, I was talking to God. Tears was rolling down my eyes, and I said, "I'm not having no blood transfusion, God." I said, "Now you said." See, I like standing on God's word, what He said. I said, "You said that you are the God that healeth thee. You said, whatsoever we ask in your son Jesus Christ's name, we shall receive it if we believe." I said, "God, I believe." This is what I'm saying in my heart. I said, "I'm not having no blood transfusion." And immediately after I got through praying that prayer, the bleeding stopped. My eyesight came back. Activities, my limb came back. And I sat up on that table. And I'm telling you, if ain't nobody ever seen nobody praise God before, I praise God in that room because I felt like I was dying. And when He totally restored me. What the woman you see sitting here today is simply because of God's healing, His grace, and His mercy. And so after that, losing that baby, I got home. Listened to the devil. He said, "You around here talking about God is good. You around here shouting and stuff." He said, "The one thing you want, God took it from you, and that's a child. If He's so good, why did He take your baby and almost kill you?" I listened to the devil. Now, see, I'm finna be real talk now. I'm finna be straight 100 real talk.
Hey, go
I
ahead.
listened to that devil. When my husband came home that day, my total attitude, everything had changed. I was mad, angry, pissed. I'm just keeping it real. And even at God and my husband. And my husband didn't do anything to me, but I blamed everybody for what happened to me. And I told God, I said, Don't ask me to read your Bible. I'm not reading your Bible no more. I'm not praying no more. I'm not having nothing else to do with you. I said, because you took my baby, you almost took my life. And here I am not even thinking, well, I could have died, but he restored me and brought me back. But I was so mad, I wasn't thinking about that.
Hmm.
So I blame God for it. And my husband and I, we've been married going on March the 23rd will be 24 years. So yeah, this coming up March. So I'm so thankful and grateful. So every night before we go to bed, we always pray together. So my husband's like, "You ready to pray, babe?" I said, "This is what exactly what I said." I had turned cold toward God. I was like, "You pray by yourself." I was like, "Cause I don't know what I'm gonna pray for. It seemed like he ain't answered none of my prayers, so you pray by yourself." That's how I was talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Oh
So
yeah.
I was just hurt and I was angry. And so my husband, he was laying his hand just praying for me. And I'm sitting there like a block of ice, like pray all you want to. And a couple of days went by with me like that. And I went to bed and I had a visitation from the Holy Spirit. And I cried out to God. I said, "Lord," I said, "I'm so sorry." I repented to God. This was like in 2021. I want to say 2021. And I made God a vow. I said, "I never ever hurt you like that again." I said, "I'm so sorry." And I repented from that day forward. After that, I went on. It took me like 2.5 to 3 years to get pregnant with my daughter. And I was praying for other women to have babies. They was having babies like popcorn.
Mm.
It seemed like what's wrong? Why I can't have a baby? And I kept praying and believing God until about maybe 2.5 to 3 years after my daughter was born. Then I found out one day I was pregnant. I was so happy once again. Now this pregnancy was with my daughter. She's 19 years old. So I had her, no problem, no issues. Carried her full term and everything. A few years after was born, found out I'm gonna back up. My mom got sick with breast cancer.
Mm. Okay.
And my daughter was a baby at the time. And keep in mind, I had still haven't dealt with the sexual abuse, still haven't dealt with a lot of things in my life. And so when I got pregnant at this time, because my mom was sick, my husband and I decided to move my mom in with us so that I could take care of her. I came off my job, and I'm thankful to my husband for that, because he didn't have to do that. He did
Right.
not have to. I could have put my mom in the home right away, but I discussed it with him, and he said, "Well, if you think you can do it, you can bring her home for a while and see how it works." So I brought her home with us and I took care of her. And my daughter was a baby at the time. So I'm taking care of a baby and my mom. And I don't know if anybody on this line ever took care of somebody that's sick. And so sometimes we can say things, but if you ain't never been in that situation before, you really can sympathize, but you really don't understand or know. And
Right.
so I was taking care of my mom, and she had gotten to where she was kind of like taking care of a baby. And I found out I was pregnant again. Now I have a choice. I can I can go ahead and put my mom in a nursing home, or I can continue to try to take care of her and and take care of my baby, not lose my baby.
Hmm.
But as time went along, I ended up because I was having to pull on my mom, tug, turn, change diapers. Like I said, if you've never had to do this, you really can sympathize, but you really don't understand. This is a 24/7 job, like taking care of my baby was. So I was
Hmm.
under a lot of stress. And so I was pregnant, and I ended up going to the hospital because I went to the bathroom, thought I had to go to the bathroom, and poof, my baby comes out. And I was five. About five, going into my fifth month, and so my baby just comes out in the toilet on the umbilical cord. And so my husband had to get me down, to the floor. He called the ambulance and they told him what to do. And I'm laying in there crying, because I done lost yet another baby. And then my mom at the time, she was sick, she was weak. And then I had my little girl, she was probably about maybe 4 or 5. So my husband trying to help me out, get somebody to get come get my mom because I couldn't take care of her. And so we finally got everything situated. I went to the hospital, and when I got out, I had to get my mom back. And when I brought my mom back home, and my daughter was with me, like I said, she was about maybe 4 or 5. um, I was in a lot of pain. So they had gave me some pain pills because after you lose a baby, or after you have a baby, so it can be painful, crampy. So I was, and he told me, he said, I'm gonna prescribe you some pills. He said, and this will help you with the pain. And I went in the room and I looked at my mom and I was like, I can't take these pain pills. My husband was like, why you can't? He said, you heard you need to. I said, I can't because if I take these pills, I'm gonna sleep all night, and then my mama gonna have to lay in there, and there's nobody to turn her. There's nobody to change her diaper. And I'm like this. I know people may say, well, because my mother even told me that. She was like, go get you some rest. She felt so bad for me because I literally had gotten me a pillow and I was in there every other hour. So I literally had gotten a pillow and I told my husband, I'm going here to sleep with mama. So that way I can turn her and stuff. And I didn't want her to see me crying because I didn't want her to know I was really in a lot of pain. But
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't take that pain pill. And so I changed. She said, well, Shonda, she said, I'll be okay for a few hours. Just get you some sleep. I said, no, mama, I wouldn't want to lay up here and not and have a nasty diaper and nobody would change me. So I'm not going to let you do it. And so I wouldn't do it. I just shared the tears, bared the pain, and changed her. And I went on. And after I got through, after that, she called me in the room one day. And this is what really hurt me one day. It just really hurt my heart. But she called me in the room and she said, come here, Shonda. And I sat down. I said, ma'am. She said, I want you to know something. She said, I love you and I appreciate everything you've done for me. She said, but I think you need to put me in a nursing home. She said, because you done lost yet another baby. She said, and I don't want to see you lose another baby. She said, so you need to put me in a home. This is just too much for you. She said, now I appreciate everything you've done for me. She said, and I love you. And I said, Mama, I said, let me pray about it and I'm gonna come back and talk to you. So I talked to my husband about it, and he had told me the same thing. He was like, you gotta put her in a home. He's like, because your body's just wore out, he said, and you can't do it anymore. And so found out I was pregnant again. This is the third baby. So I put my mom in a home. We put her in a home, I'm thinking it's like October. And so my mom died in December. I forgot the year. Was it 2009? And then that next year was 2010. So it was 2009, I'm thinking. But anyway, she was in a nursing home for 3 years. I was pregnant and sick. Every day though, I was at that nursing home in her room. She had an extra bed in her room. I was in that bed just making sure, because my mom was the type of person, she didn't want nobody else bathing her and stuff, and she wanted me to do it. So I was right there doing, trying to help with her as best as I could every day. I put my daughter on the bus and I go out and sit with my mom until it was time for my daughter to get out of school and my husband time to get off for work. After doing all of this, and if my husband was in here, he would tell you, God gave me a supernatural strength because I cooked every day. My house was clean, spotless, because I don't like dirt. So I cooked every day. I cleaned. Some days it was like my head would be blown off my shoulder because I didn't know then, but it was high blood pressure. I was stressed. But I still went along every day. My mom died, and the next month I had an appointment to check on my baby. Went to my doctor's appointment. Here's your the third baby. And they said, Miss Williams, I'm sorry, I got bad news for you. What's the bad news this time? And I'm thinking to myself, how much more bad news can I take? And
Right.
so I remember sitting there like, I don't want to hear it, but I need to hear it. And I was like, what is it? And he said, well, you've already dilated a certain amount of centimeters, and there's nothing we can do to stop the baby from coming. We can take you to labor and delivery and get you to go on and deliver the baby, but you're not far enough along, so he may die. His heart and lungs aren't developed enough. Or you can just go back home, and then when contract and this, that, and then you can come back. So I called my husband at work, told him the news, asked him what he wanted me to do. And he said, well, I'm going to take you to another doctor to get a second opinion. So he did that. And by then I had dilated another centimeter. And so they took me on up to labor and delivery. I set up an infection in my bloodstream. And I forgot to say this, every every pregnancy that I've had, except with my daughter, I set up an infection in my bloodstream and I've almost died. I've got chills and convulsion, all of it. And I've had to have bags of antibiotics. But and with this last baby, I could feel him kicking and moving inside of me. And so they was like, you're gonna have to push him out, Miss Williams, or you're gonna die, because I had set up an infection in my bloodstream and I had started sweating real bad. I mean, I was vomiting, and they said if you don't push him out, he's not gonna make it for sure. But if you don't push him out, you're gonna die as well. So my husband was like, please, Shonda, please, baby, just push them. I was like, I can't, because he's kicking and moving. And this is another third baby that I'm going to lose. And so I did. I finally pushed the baby out, and true enough, he died. And so they cleaned him up for me and my husband to hold him for a little while. And I'm just sitting there crying. This is like my third baby. And I was like, I don't know how much more of this I can take. I told my husband, I said, I just don't know. My body was tired, my mind, everything was just wore out and tired. Well, I didn't think I was going to have any more children. I had a vision of having a little boy, and then I've had other people tell me, oh, okay, but I really just didn't think nothing about it. Well, my daughter's 19 in college. All of a sudden, I get sick some months ago, went to the hospital for one thing, and they tell me that I'm 15 weeks pregnant. So I'm looking at my husband like, what? Because like I say, he's a travel agent, so we're getting ready to be empty nesters and travel. And I have a little boy now. I've carried him full term, 9 months, no problems. He's 5 weeks old. And I thank God for him. I call him my blessing baby, because I didn't have, like I said, didn't have any problems or issues with him. He was born. He's here now, healthy. And so God blessed me with my baby son. So I have 5 children in all, but I have three boys. That's when I say lost, three sons that I lost. And then I have a son. God turned around and blessed me with the son that I have now, 5 weeks old. So I'm very thankful. I used to be really, really sad and kind of down, but you know what keeps me up? I look at my daughter. First of all, she's 19 and healthy. And I said, you know what? They would ask me before I had my son, do you ever want any other children? I said, you know what? I've learned to just be content. If God bless me with another one, I'm good. If he don't bless me with another one, I'm good. But I look at my daughter and I said, she could have been the same way my sons were, but God blessed me with her here on this earth. So therefore, I'm just grateful. And then he turned around and he blessed me with my son. But I'm telling you, it took a lot of prayer. It took a lot of prayer for me to get where I am today in my mindset.
Yeah.
Because that was, especially when my mom died, and then that I lost my the third baby, and she had just said, put me in a home, so I don't want to see you lose another baby. And the next month, I lost that baby. And so now some days, since he been born, the other day I just looked at him and I sometimes just cry, because I think about what my mom said, and she's not here to share that. My daughter, she was 5 or 6 when my mom, died. And so she kind of remember her granny and her granny. But this baby, my mom didn't get a chance to see. And because I lost the baby after she said, I don't want to see you lose another baby. And so some days I still sit around, and I tell people all the time, folks will try to tell you how to grieve. I can't tell you how to grieve. I can't tell you what to do. I can tell you how I may have gotten through it and what some things I may have done that would help you. But everybody have their own grieving process and how they do it. Now there's a healthy grieving and there's an unhealthy grieving. There is. And we don't have time to go into all of that, but I'm just saying there is. But everybody grieves at their own time, their own space, place, and however you see fit to grieve. And my mom's been gone now. That's been over 13, 14. That's been some years. But I still think about her sometimes, and I still cry. Still wish I could just smell her perfume or give her a hug, or something. Pick up the phone and say, hey, mama, what you doing, what you cooking? But I can never do that again. So everybody you can't tell people how long to grieve, how to grieve, what they should do to grieve. You can only tell them maybe some things you've done, but that you're an overcomer of it, and that just like you overcame it, they too as well can overcome it. Now that's kind of all of it in a wrap.
No, I love that, because it gives me an idea how to ask a few questions, and going back, I want to talk about the incest, right? And why? Because it happens so much more than what people think.
Yes.
And then, when it does happen, oh, don't say anything. You do keep this with why? Why do families do that? Right? Because again, coming from a place where I was molested, I'm convinced now that everybody knew who this person was and what
Yes.
this person was capable of doing, but no one did anything. So,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking to myself now that I'm older, right? It's something I just won't tolerate. If I know, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you. You don't hurt no child. You just don't.
Amen.
Um, but why do you think families do that? They
I really,
know, yeah.
I don't know, but I'm glad to hear you as a man. Now it's women, it's a lot of women that won't deal with this issue as well, but especially a man. I don't know why it seemed like they make it's so hard and that you're a weak man if you deal with the issue of being molested or if you say you was molested or even with your like you talk about the mental health. I know
Mhm.
we last time we talked about the mental health. I went to a mental health seminar and there was a man that got up and I'm just gonna say it because we probably have white people on here too. I'm sure white people deal with it as well, but I'm just talking about our race. But this man got up and he told his story of how he battled mental illness. He went to the army and how it affected his life, and then it ruined his marriage because he wouldn't deal with the mental health issues. Because this is the quote unquote he used: Black folk don't seek therapy, and black folks don't do these things. And I'm like, well, if it's anybody that really needs a therapist, so all right, we really need, but it's a blessing to have. But I like the way you said that. A lot of men, because I've had a young lady reach out to me. She was a client of mine, and her son had been molested, and he was angry. I think he was like 20 something, and she asked me. She said he wants to deal with it now, but will you take on a male client? Because I'm only taking female clients. And I said, well, I've never taken a male client before. I said, but let me tell you something. I said, let me pray about it, but let me get back with you. I said, because I don't want to turn him away. I said, and I believe I could help him to an extent, but I said, but I would really love to know of a man that has been in his, been in a situation like him that could more coach him or help him. I said, but let me get back with you. But there are mothers out there that have sons that have been molested that they want to get the help for their, and they're grown young men. And they won't openly do what you just did. They will not admit I was molested by a relative because it seemed like the whole family turns against you.
Well, I tell you what though, it took me a long time to even admit it, right? To even acknowledge it because it was something that I suppressed for so long. And but honestly, it did so much damage to me that I in turn did a lot of damage to other people.
Hmm.
Now, the reason why I talk about it now is because I'm comfortable with it, and I realize that it happens a lot more frequently than what people think it does.
Yeah.
And it took a really good friend of mine, Sean Wheeler, and he was the victim of human trafficking ever since he was a young boy, 3 years old up until he was in his 30s. And so you take things like that, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, if he's brave enough to talk about being human trafficked,
Yes.
then I can be brave enough to talk about what has happened to me.
Yes.
Because the damage that it did, I became angry.
Yes, I did too.
And at that time I was very devious too. I was very devious, but no one really paid attention to it because when I did try to say something, no one wanted to believe it. Oh
I
boy,
know.
that don't happen to young boys. You got a sister. You got to protect your sister and this, that, and another. And
Hmm.
and so it made me empty inside, right? It made me feel as no one cared about me, right?
Hmm.
And that old saying, I'm only good for one thing. That is just to provide and protect. And so I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. But man, the pain that I had to go through, the emptiness, because it did empty me out. It hardened my heart, and
Yes.
it set me along a path because I will tell you, I developed trust issues, I really did. I developed trust issues. I couldn't stand for people to get close to me because I never
I
knew
was
what they're.
like, me too.
Yeah, like, and it's sad because you want so much to feel secure around the people that you're
Yes.
around, but you can't because of these things that have already happened to you. And you have to
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, whenever someone comes around, what are their intentions? Are you going to try to hurt me? You
Yes.
know, right? So you look at those things, and you're like, are you going to try to hurt me? And so even though you don't know, you already have this preconceived notion that they want
Mm-hmm.
to do it anyway, right? So in turn, now
Yes.
as a man, as a young man, I'm like, I'm not going to give you the chance to. I
That's the
am not
same
going
way
to.
I was.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So, and again, I say this because the similarities across the board, right? And everybody just thinks that is so different. No, I'm saying this because I'm listening and I'm sharing these similarities to let people know that you're not the only ones, right? You know what I'm saying? And it's the same things that you're experiencing. You have to just look at it in reverse to another person, and you
Yes.
may find out what they're hiding behind their eyes. There's a quote that was saying that I had put up the other day, and the quote said, my biggest fear is that you will look into my eyes and see me the way that I see myself.
Mm.
Now, when you break that down, right, when you have someone who has been their innocence has been taken, they've been abused, they've had to live a life where they're constantly, and it takes a little bit to admit this too, as a man, of um, being afraid of people hurting you.
Mm-hmm.
You you tend to you tend to learn how to survive in a more extreme way.
Yes.
you know, Anticipating other people's moves and things like
Mm-hmm.
that, constantly being calculated. I tell people even nowadays, I try to stay 20, 25 steps ahead of you because the last thing I want you to do is to think that you're going to try to hurt me. And I still
Yes.
can't allow that, right? I still can't allow that. But it does something to you, right?
It
Not
does. Yes.
everybody's like, not everybody does the same thing, Lashanda. You're like, it took me a long time to realize that I sucked at relationships. You know,
Yes.
I had trust issues.
I did
Uh,
too.
and so when you've never been in healthy relationships before, you tend to be the toxic one.
Yep.
Unfortunately for me, I was the toxic one. I can't blame everything on all the relationships, all the failed relationships that I had. I was the toxic one,
Mm-hmm.
right? And in the midst of my hurt, um, I destroyed a lot of women in the process and blame them. See, she ain't no good. And yeah, I did. That was me. I did that,
Yes.
right? Um, and use the excuse of being a game banger and dealing with all of the things that came along with that. So it still baffles me because now doing the work that I do, I find that there are a lot more men out there that have been sexually abused
Yes.
their whole entire lives, and you can often see these things in their relationships that they choose.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get your thoughts on that. I want to get your thoughts on that.
I totally agree with you 100%. I had gotten to a place, and I tell this part of my testimony. I had gotten to a place in my life because of this sexual abuse. Um, I really, and I had grew a hatred toward men. See, I do real talk. I just keep it 100.
Hmm.
My dad wasn't in my life, and I hated my dad. I'm just gonna be honest. It's not like that now. I love my dad. I forgiven my dad, but I hated my dad because he chose not to be a part of my life. And then I had been molested by a man. Then you got in relationships, and guys, I'm just gonna say they wanna have sex with you, be with you, and be with this next person and next person. And I was just miserable when it comes to men, period. And my thing was this: I'm sick of it. Before you hurt me, I'm hurting you. I
Hmm.
don't trust no man. Ain't none of men, and all men are dogs. I had that persona. I would say
Yeah.
that,
Oh yeah.
and that's the way I felt. And so when I got into a relationship, And like I heard you say that about the toxic one, and I do abuse now. And so I look back over my life and I tell women, I said, it's not good for a man to put his hands on you, walk away. And it's not good for a woman to put her hands on a man either. I was that woman. I was if you because I hated men so bad because I was hurt and I was angry, then I felt like maybe jumping on a man, then if you see this in your family line or in other people where men and women all they do is fight, cuss each other out and fight. So you think that that's normal. So I was like, I had got to the point to where you hurt me, I'm gonna knock your head off. I'm gonna do something to hurt you. And so that I was that person, and I had to be healed and delivered for that. But it all is stemmed from the fact of the sexual abuse, not trusting me. And then I'm even gonna go further here, because like I say, I'm an open book, and I like to help people. And the only way you can help people is to tell them the truth. I was sexually, because of that, I was so sexually traumatized that I was the type of woman to where I could care less about a man with sex or whatever, because I could deal with that. I could live without sex. I hated sex. Some women that have been molested say that they like it, it drives them to like sex. I was the opposite. It was nasty to me. It was disgusting. And I did not like it. And so I could do without it. And I didn't like men, so I was mad at you, angry at you, didn't trust you. So I could care less about having a boyfriend or having, but that's the way I had gotten. I had gotten so bad, Tony. Well, I ain't even like myself. Now that's bad. I was bitter. I was angry. And I remember sitting down one day and I just cried, and I looked at, I was like, how did I get here? Because I used to be so quiet, and I would talk a lot about different stuff, but I was reserved type person, and I wasn't showing out and active showing out. But I had gotten to the point to where I was actively showing out, trying to fight. This is not me. How did I get here? And then I realized, I need help. I need something has to change. I don't even like myself. But that's how I had gotten. So I like to just keep on here. I was very sexually, and if it wasn't for when I got saved, I really prayed and I asked God. See, I'm like I said, I'm an open book. I asked God, I said, Lord, you're gonna have to bless me when you bless me with a husband, because sex is not about marriage. Sex is not all a marriage is about, but it's a big part of marriage. And the Bible tells you not to defraud yourself from your spouse. And I said, God, you're going to have to help me in this area, because I will be done defrauding my husband from sex and not really realizing, because I can do without it. I'm not just some big king person of it. And I'm saying this, and like I said, I'm saying it bluntly. When you ask God to do something, He will do it. He will restore it. So when he gave me my husband, blessed me with my husband, He gave me that desire for sex. He gave me, restored my mind. He restored my body. He restored everything. So I didn't have that issue once I got married. And I thank God for that. But it's because I asked God to help me in that area, because I knew there was an area that I was struggling in, and that because I had been traumatized, in that area, that it's going to be an issue in my marriage if I don't deal with this. So, and I think that I think when you get married, while you are dating, I think this is something that you need to discuss with the person. If you say, okay, we're looking at marriage, you need to discuss this with this person, because they need to know. I know they say, well, your past don't really matter, but in a sense, it does. They need to know what you have gone through, overcome in this area. Because let's say you haven't dealt with the issue. Let's say I didn't deal with the issue of the sexual trauma, and then I married my husband, and he never knew I was molested. And then he wondered why my wife don't want to have sex with me. She don't find me attractive. It's going to cause a problem. So that's why I say deal with your issues. Be honest and deal with your issues, because if you don't deal with them, they're going to deal with you. And they'll cause issues and problems in your relationship. I couldn't stand a relationship long. If a guy, I'm gonna be honest, if a guy messed around and said, I love you, oh, you gone. You are out, because you lied. That's what my mindset was. You are lying. You don't love me. You don't love me. And they tried to make me say, I do love you. You a nice person. And they like, I don't understand. I thought everything was good between me and you. Well, it was until you said them words. I
You
mean, I'm just
know,
being honest.
no, like I can definitely relate to that, right? Because there was times where you know, I got so used to those words right there. I love you, and then like, and then you try to do something bad to me.
Hmm.
And then
You
when I was
hurt me.
in the gangs and stuff like that, it was the dudes that was hanging around. Oh, cuz I love you, and this, that, and another. And these was the same dudes that tried to kill me. I said, you know what?
Mm, I got.
If that's the way that we expressing love, then I love you too, and watch what I do to you, right? Because I was a fair type of dude. I was hey, fair is fair. You try to get me, I'm gonna get you if I don't get you first, right?
Mm,
But also, I had no fear of dying. I had no fear of this world. I had no fear of anyone because life had emptied me. It had hardened my heart. Like, so it wasn't like I felt anything for them. I listened to people. I did, and I heard what you said, but I watched your
mhm.
action. You know,
Yes.
going, okay, if that's what we're doing, if that's the game that we got to play, then I'll play the game with you too, right?
Right.
And so it helped me maneuver around. I paid for it. I definitely paid for it. Karma came back and knocked me around something fierce for a few years, right? And I was okay with that because what it did, it allowed me to move around. It allowed me to keep myself safe in a lot of ways, but it also kept me from letting people in.
Yes.
I've gotten so used to people leaving me. Even now, I tell people, if you want to leave, leave. I don't care, right? I know how to detach myself from people because, for one, doing the work that I do now, let me soften this a little bit. In the world, in the work that I do in grief and everything, there's certain rules that I live by. There's a certain in-depth understanding that although grief is a shared experience, is also a lonely one as well, right? Because
Hmm.
individual. By me being a person that I am and have the relationship with grief, I also take on that those rules. I am only here to walk you to your next destination, so my life is pretty fitting in the work that I do. And you learn how to discipline yourself. You learn how to keep respect for yourself. But I had to go through my go through. Being an alcoholic, being homeless, being in the gangs, going to prison, all of that different stuff. But it helps me to be more effective in the field that I'm in because now I can reach a lot more people because of the in-depth experience.
Yes.
The one thing, and I want to get your thoughts on this, right? The one thing that I have realized that my life didn't happen to me; it happened for me. The experience was mine, but the knowledge that was gained from it was that for the people that I serve,
Yes.
right? Um, and there was a lot of healing that had to go along from there. When when my son passed away, you would think, because the first time in my whole life, for a very long time, and I've had to walk away from two girls, my two oldest daughters, because it was they deserved a life where they didn't have to worry about someone hurting them, and I couldn't bear the fact of that someone would go after them to come to to get to me, so it just made life a little bit more simpler to maneuver around, um, which sucked because you got to suck that part up too, right? And
Hmm.
be able to harden yourself to not have those emotions because in the lifestyle that I live, emotions will get you killed. You
Sure
know,
will.
and so now you take that and this multitude of things that come along with that, where you have to look at the relationships that you're in with other people. So relationships like with the women, yeah, that love you part. Now you keep that to yourself because love will get you.
Hmm.
I can't go around because what I'm saying. Even if I do like you a little bit, there's somebody out there paying attention to what I'm doing with you, and if they have any sort of notion that I care about you, they come after you to get to me.
My God.
Let's keep this. Let's keep this to a point to where I'm gonna do this to protect you, and regardless, wrong is wrong. I've heard a lot of people and what to sacrifice the relationship because the thought was I can't let you care about me. I can't let you have any sort of feeling towards me because of the lifestyle that I live. And I wasn't that
Mhm.
dude that I didn't fake game banging. I was a real game banger. I was true to it. I wasn't new to it. I was true to it. But I lived it and I breathed it and I walked it and I talked it on a daily basis, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year. There was no choice for me to not live it the way that I did.
Mm.
See what I mean? And the
Mhm.
sacrifices that came along with that, I would rather hurt you than to have someone else hurt you. You may not understand it, but I would rather destroy you to push you away from me than to let you come in and let somebody else hurt you.
Mhm.
It's wrong, right? Um, and I did damage. I did a lot of damage that I understand. And the only thing I can pray is for forgiveness for it. But I realize it's part of the journey. It's part of the
Yeah.
journey, right? And now we move. I want to move forward because like you talked about losing your mom to cancer, or was it cancer? Yes,
It was
cancer.
breast cancer. Mhm.
So you talk about losing your mom to breast cancer, but in the process of all of this, you you lost you lost three boys. You
Yes,
lost
I
three
did.
babies.
Yes, I did.
How does one navigate that much loss? And dealing with the trauma of everything else that has happened. Because that, Lashana, you a strong, amazing person.
God. Thank you, Jesus.
Like, and to be where you are right now,
Thank you, God.
how does how does one deal with the grief of all of that to be who you are today?
I promise you, I can only just say by God's grace, because if it was only by Him, I know within myself I couldn't have done it. I sit down and I look back over my life, and if it wasn't for me, really just like I said, I was praying and praying and asking the Lord to help me, to strengthen me, because now that I sit back and I look back, even when I'm telling my testimony, I think to myself, my God, how did I do? Because my mind was all over the place. Some days I didn't know if I was going or coming.
Right,
People would see me, because I would be sheltered in the house with my mom, because my husband couldn't change her. He couldn't, change my mom and stuff. And so when I finally could get a break to go maybe to Walmart or something, or my husband be like, just go take you a walk at the park. Mama be good for about 15, 20 minutes. Go take you a walk at the park. I would get out the house and I would just cry, because my mind was, some days I didn't know if I was going to come. And honestly, I felt like I was mentally about to just blow.
hmm
And I had a 5 or 6 year. I think my daughter was 5 or 6, but I had a child, and she was a baby when my mom got sick, and it was a lot of stress and strain on me. It really, really, really was. And I don't know. There is no other explanation I can give, but God giving me strength, because I think about it even now, and I just cry, because I couldn't have. I don't see how. There is no other explanation. And even in some of the things that I'm dealing with now, and even though that happened years ago, it's still sometimes, like I said, my head felt like it was blown up. I had found out I got high blood pressure from that. I was stressed, and as a woman, having a baby anyway takes a toll on your body. But I've had, those three miscarriages, those miscarriages, and then I've had a baby. Now I've just had another. It was just by the grace of God. I don't see no other way I could have made it. Because like I said, some days I was just out of my mind. And
right.
I remember that night sitting in my mama's room in her bed, and I turned my back to her because I was hurting so bad. I was in so much pain. I had just lost my son, one of my sons, and I wouldn't take that pain pill, but I was in so much pain. I remember just laying there crying. And I didn't want her to see me crying, but I was just laying. And then she tapped me on the shoulder. She said, "You okay over there?" Because she knew I was over there crying. She
Right,
said, "You
right.
okay over there?" I said, "Mama," I said, I'm good. I said, "I'm just fine." She said, "No, you ain't." She said, "Go in there and take that pain pill, Shonda." She said, "Because you are in pain. I will be okay for a few hours." I was like, "Nope." Because I'm not gonna let you lay up there, and I had to cry and suffer through it. When I think back, it just wasn't nothing but the grace of God. I don't see how I'm not in somewhere, just somewhere mentally messed up. But that's, I mean, and when people hear me tell the testimony, I don't tell my Mr. Tony, I don't tell my testimony for people to clout. I don't tell my testimony for people to look at me a certain type of a way and put me as a hero or put me on a pedestal. I tell my testimony because it is, the Bible says you have overcome by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of your testimony. I share my testimony because just what you just asked me, God have to get the glory, because there's no way I could have done this or I could have came out of this on my own, because my head, like I said, I was messed up and mentally and everything. And so God gets all the glory. And I want other women to know that there is hope. And even, men that have been sexually abused, you don't have to suffer in your silence. That's my motto for my clients, for my business. You do
Right.
not have to suffer in silence. You can open up your mouth and you can tell your testimony. You have overcome by the blood of the Lamb, by the words of your testimony, and to give other people hope, to let them know that just like you overcame, they too can overcome. But
Yeah.
I promise I don't have no explanation for that, because if it wasn't for the grace and mercy of God, I wouldn't be here today. I just would not. People see me now. And I had went out the other day, and I had seen some people at the clinic, and they was like, "Hey, Miss Lashanda," because I haven't been out in a while, and they haven't saw me since I was pregnant, and they was looking at me like, "How old is the baby?" I said, "Oh, he's 5 weeks." What? You just had a baby, and you out smiling and laughing, and I said, "Look, it's the grace of God. The grace of God is all I can say. It's all I can say."
I tell you what, like that's the type of faith that I'd be telling people right there. Like if you see Lashanda walking down the street and you see that smile on her face, understanding where she's come from and had to endure in order to get to where she is, and you're struggling with yours, hold on to a little piece of her faith until you're able to develop your own,
Yes,
right? Hold on to it till you're able to develop your own. Like I tell people all the time, don't follow me.
yes, Lord.
Don't follow me. My path is a little different than most people's.
Mhm.
So don't follow me, because half the time I don't even know where I'm going, right? And I do tell people, I do have a relationship with God.
Yes.
Don't talk about it, because sometimes some of the things that He tells me is between me and Him.
Yes.
But I will tell you, that was a one point in time in my life where you'd have thought I was possessed by the devil. I had no fear in the things that I was doing. It was woo wee. I just tell people, look, people like God's going to get you. I said, look, I have an agreement with God. He stays out of my house. I stay out of his.
My God.
You know what I'm saying? Hey, we when it comes time, then you know what I'm saying, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But until that time, he stay out of my house. I stay out of his. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna sort this thing out.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you, had I not been on this path, had the things not had happened the way that it did, me being an alcoholic, and the homelessness and the abuse, the trauma, the endless nightmares, and what it seems like from time to time, the endless pain, I wouldn't be the man I am today, because there was a lot of surrender. There was um, there was a lot of things that I had to learn as a young boy, in an adult body, because I didn't know what a man was. I didn't know that, I most importantly, I never knew what a father was, because
Yes.
it was taken away from me. So I didn't know, as they say, I was green behind the ears when it came down to that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm so lucky and blessed today to have the beautiful relationships that I do have with individuals, and the understanding that they have of me and the path that I'm on. Um, and but also, the rules that I have to live by now, is just a little different, just a little
Mhm.
different, because this path of grief is a lonely one, right?
Yes.
And I love seeing people thrive and find find their significant others, and be able to live with, not only live within the love, but having that spoken over top of you, but understanding where that grace and that forgiveness comes from,
Yes.
and to be able to turn it around, to do what you're doing today.
Yes.
That is a strength that I wish on a lot of people.
Yes, Lord.
I just live a little bit different. Like life is a personal for me. Like the path that I'm on, it's let's just say I'm just passing through, right?
Yes.
I'm here to walk you to your next destination. As they say, as my uncle told me one time before, he goes, maybe that ain't for you, right? Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you're not somebody's first choice. Maybe the relationship ain't for you. And after I thought about it for a little bit, I realized that he's probably right. You
Right.
know, because of the responsibility that I bear within my gift,
Yes.
it's a different one. And and I can tell you right now, feeling the energy from the people who are probably tuning in right now, girl, they're probably in tears listening to your story because there's people out there that can relate to that, and that's powerful. That is some powerful stuff right there. Even yourself being vulnerable and brave to be able to share your story
Yeah.
oh my God, guys out there, that if you're listening, if you guys are in tears and you're listening, and you're hearing this, you ain't got to say anything, but I want to say thank you for guys for tuning in, and you know, and everything. I definitely appreciate you guys on all the social media platforms. I see you out there, and we're gonna get into this next section of your story. What made you decide to go out and be a sexual abuse advocate?
This is how this I never thought I would because like I said, I'm an evangelist. So I first started off my ministry just doing like evangelism.
Hmm.
But I remember sitting down one day and I don't know, I had saw this post on Facebook of this lady, she was doing a life coaching. She had a life coaching school. And I thought to myself, I was like, I said, this looks interesting. And I'm thinking life coaching, what is life coaching? And so I did some research. And some people's like, well, a life coach that all they want is your money. They do this, they do that. They don't know what they're talking about. I said, well, that could be in any field. That can be in any field, any career, even in church. But I said, so I prayed and I was like, I don't know. It just kept being on my heart. And and when I decided to get into the class, she asked us, she said, what is your niche? Where do you go? And so I'm thinking to myself, what do I really want to deal with? At first, it was low self-esteem because I kind of went through that too as well. But then I thought about it, and I was sitting down one day, and I was like, boom, like a light bulb went off in my head. It's
Hmm.
going to be a sexual abuse uh, and life coach, because sexual abuse and the life go kind of go together.
Hmm.
So, because I deal with other aspects of life as well, but the sexual abuse. And when I told her this was my niche, she said, "Wow." She said, "What?" She asked me the same thing. What made you? And I told her, I said, I just feel like this is what was purposed in me. This happened to me, but I've overcome it. I've been through different things. I said, I believe this is my purpose. And this is what God has birthed in me. And this is what he's going to use for me to help other women that have been sexually abused to overcome and to give them hope and to help them. See, I'm different with my clients. I don't do what I do for money. Thank God for it. But I don't do what I do for money. I get in the trenches with you. I
Yeah.
get down there with you, and if you gonna fight, because I tell them, don't waste your money coming to me. Don't waste your money and think you got to put in some work with me. Don't
Hmm.
waste your money. If you don't want to be healed, if you don't want to be made whole, don't come to me, because it's gonna be some things that I was intending to bring my workbook and I forgot it. But I have a workbook that I had wrote. In this workbook, it gives a disclaimer of, as you deal with this sexual abuse issue, your body may go through triggers, because I went through these things, but nobody was there to coach me or to help me to understand it. So I'm
Hmm.
able to help and coach other women through this. And I gave the disclaimer that you're gonna want to quit on down, because you're dealing with an issue and with things that people usually don't deal with. And to be honest with you, uh, the devil, he's gonna want you to close your mouth. He don't. He's gonna want you to close your mouth because he may put out you who hadn't been molested, who hadn't been raped. So what? You been? So what? This is my testimony. I'm dealing with this. So in my I have a workbook that I work with my clients throughout, and they have to get this workbook in order to go through through the coaching session. And some of the women, they was like, well, the first session wasn't even know they pay and they come back a second time. However many times they need to, they come back until we feel like, okay, I've accomplished my goal and what I need, that I need to move on, move further. But that I believe that this is what God purposed in me. I know that this is what He purposed in me. And then, especially for 2025, for such a time as this, and I love what I do. I love it. And when women come to me, they say, Lashanda, they said, I'm some of the stuff I've done in my life, I'm so embarrassed. I'm so ashamed. I said, let me tell you something. Embarrassed free zone, shame free zone. This is nothing shocks me. We done all done some mess, we done some stuff. I said, girl, just like God done cleaned this mess up and change me and deliver me, He can do the same for you. So you come on here, you be open, you be honest, and I get in the trenches with them. I pray with my clients. Yeah, that's another thing that I do with my clients. A lot of people may not do, but I do differently. I pray with them. I set up sessions of times if they just need to call, where we have a moment of prayer.
Mm-hmm.
If it's something that they struggling with in the workbook or they struggling with to deal with, and they feel like I need some strength or I need courage or help, you can call me, inbox me, let me know, and we can get on the Zoom, we can get on there, and we can go at this. We can pray and we can go at this together because you're not alone. Sometimes it just helps women to know that you may have been through this. You may feel, because even in your grieving, you may feel like you are lonely, you are alone. But if it's somebody else out there that says, look, I'm willing to get in the trench with you, and where two come together in agreement, God said, I'll be in the midst. Let's come together in agreement and let's pray and let's believe. Don't quit. Don't give up. You can make it. Press through this. So that's kind of like the sexual abuse. And I love what I do. I
Oh yeah.
love it. And I pray and I ask God every day, I don't want to, because I don't, in what I do, you can't be a busybody. You can't be gossiping. You have to be very, people tell you things in secrecy. You have to be able to keep secrets, keep people's information confidential. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something I allow my clients to know. Everything we talk about is confidential. Even your records that I keep in a box is confidential. Nobody can get to those records.
Yeah.
And they need to, people need to know that. Because
Yeah.
everybody ain't where I am with the sexual abuse. Everybody ain't open and out with it right now. They don't want people to know if they've been abused. They don't want people to know who it is. And so I'm good with that. If that's where you are, then I'm gonna work with you where you are, and you don't have to worry about me, putting it gossiping or putting this out. This is between me, you, and God. That's it.
Yeah. And
But
I'm
I
being
love what I do.
I'm right there with you, right? And it's strange because I tell people, this gift of grief is truly my gift. And I love everything about it. I love everything about it. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Amen.
Because it was not only just born out of love, but it was born out of pain. It was born
Yes.
out of loss. It was born out of trauma. It was born out of surrendering, forgiveness, accountability. And like if you really truly understood what it took for me to get here, then you would understand why I'm so passionate about
Mm.
walking. I'm right there with you, LaShawn. I want to be in the trenches with you.
Yes.
Let me go down there and get dirty with you. Don't go down there without me. I'm gonna feel left out. I got
Yes.
something for you. I got look. I got something for you. Let me give this to you, but let me come down there with you.
Yes.
I want to see who's revealed under there, who you going to lead back as we start to make our way out of this trench right here,
Yes.
out of this chest high mud. I want to see I want to see who you leaving back
Yes.
because I'm excited to see who you become, right?
That's me.
Because
Yes.
when it's all said and done, the work that you put in, the person that you become, I'm always excited to see that person because that's going to be the person that's going to be the version of you that everyone else gets.
Yes.
if you give me the honor and the privilege to walk with you just that for that little bit of time,
Yes.
I've done what I'm supposed to do. And then I'm off to the next one. That's my life.
Amen.
I'm off to the next one. It's like, oh, because God gets kind of strange with me sometimes. He's like, hey, it's time for you to move on, and and sometimes that don't look like what most people think it should. Sometimes,
Hmm.
hey, I'm gonna make you homeless again, right? Um, but I've been through it, been through the journey, been through the battle. Some people may not understand it, and I'm okay with them not understanding it.
Amen.
But when you act in a way of service to other people, it's not for other people to understand.
Right.
It's for you to be obedient to the path,
Obedient.
and have faith, have
Yeah.
unwavering faith, because what it looks like to you may not be what is actually going on.
Amen.
So we do what we're called to do. We definitely do what we're called to do. Now, wow, we've unpacked a lot of stuff in this. We really have. And so, my next thing is, 'cause I know you got a newborn baby boy,
And
and
he's in there hollering for me right now. My husband
already
showing
knowing.
trying, but he's spoiled because he be like, okay, I'm with dad for a little while, but I want my mama because I hear him
I'm
in there now.
already knowing. I'm just like, because I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm just like, you know what? I ain't gonna keep baby boy's mama too much longer and everything. So as we begin to wrap this up, Lashanda, tell people how they can find you.
Well, I'm on Facebook. You can follow me on Facebook, Lashanda Williams, and you will see my profile picture there. Or TikTok. I think I gave you my link to my TikTok.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and or you can follow me on TikTok. I do a lot of my sexual abuse things on my TikTok. And I do a lot of it on Facebook as well. But like I said before, I'm also an evangelist, so I do a lot of my ministry work as well on my Facebook page. And so you can look me up on Facebook. And if anytime after you've heard what I said tonight, if you would like to know more about what it is that I do and how you can find out, what to do if you're interested in becoming a client or working with you and helping you to overcome if you've been sexually abused, and also women who struggle with depression, low self-esteem. I also help, have sessions, and I also help you as well. You can email me because I get a lot of emails. Email me, Lashanda, Lashanda Williams at the number 1010 at AOL.com. And we can set up a date and a time for me to talk to you and see if we can do a consultation and see if you are fit, if you're a fit for me and if I'm a fit for you and if I can help you, my services can help you. And we can go from there. I am accepting new clients, and I had stopped accepting clients for a while to take off a little time for my baby, but I'm gonna start back to accepting clients. I'll start back next month, February. So if you're interested in learning more, or if you have any questions or comments, you can follow me on Facebook. You can inbox me on Facebook, or you can email me at that email address, or through my TikTok. I think they leave messages on there as well.
Okay. That's cool. Now I got one last question for you. I love this question right here, and anybody
Okay.
who's been tuning in, you guys know I've switched up the question a little bit, and this is I love hearing the answers from this. So my last question to you would be, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
A superpower.
Hmm.
I ain't never thought about that. Hmm. Break it down for me a little bit more. What?
It could be anything. Like, you got to think about it like this, right? We all grew up watching Justice League, Friends, and Marvels, and we've read comic books and things like that. And you got people like Superman, and
I was
you
just
got,
gonna say, are you talking about like Superman? Because
yeah.
I watched
If you
Superman
had, like,
with that
it could be
wheel.
anything, right? So, prime example, um, one of my superpowers, it would be empathy, right? To have infinite empathy for everyone that I come across, to help me understand how to walk with them, how to serve them. But it can change, right? You know what I'm saying? Like this week, it was like I wish I had the superpower of healing,
That I
right?
was just gonna say that. I was just
So
gonna say that my superpower would be, And that is one of the gifts, of the spirit. But my superpower will probably be to be able to heal. But I look at it in this aspect as well. God is using and purpose and birth in me. There are different kinds of healing. Like, let's say, like healing of cancers. You can be healed from that sickness and disease. But what I do is women need to be healed in their heart. They need to be healed in their soul, in their mind. So what I do is I help them to go through the spiritual healing part. It may not be from a cancer from them, but it's from there. But if I had a superpower, it would probably be that I walk not just in that part of helping the women, but also in that part of being able to help people that's sick and ill and suffering, that I could just zap and take their suffering away. But then in a sense, some suffering, like the suffering I've gone through, it was hurtful, but it helped me to become the woman of God that I am today.
Mm-hmm.
So I would like, kind of like what you said too, the empathy, be able to feel what other people are feeling, that I can help them. Because one thing that I don't like when people do it is when you, like, let's say like what I just talked about, the grievance part of taking care of my mom, but if you never took care of my mom or of a sick person, you may be like, well, it ain't so hard to take care of somebody sick, it ain't, but that's what you said because you've never had to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
So if I had that, it would be like the empathy, to be able to, sometimes these women come to me, I can't relate to them because I've never been through what they've been through. But if I do have the compassion, enough compassion and love for them to say, I wish I had, like what you just said, the empathy, where I could just walk in their shoes to kind of see how they feel so I can effectively be able to help them better. Because there's some women that come to me, I have to tell them, well, I don't think we're going to be kind of a good fit. I would love to help you. But then I know this other lady, she dealt with this same thing, and
Mm-hmm.
I can refer you to her. You know what I'm saying? So it would be kind of like what you said, if I had that superpower. But I've never thought about it that way. I guess that's why it's taking me so long to kind of figure out what you're talking about, the super. I just never thought about it that way.
Right. And so and I love that question, right? Because it can be a very deep question and it makes people really, really think, right? And oftentimes, here's what people do. Often people relate their superpower to their true purpose in the world. If you have a heart of service to other people, your answer is going to be very deep and embedded because it comes from a place of authentic caring for another human being,
Yes.
and it's selfless. Now,
I like that word. You ain't
yeah,
never heard me say that, but I'm also, my husband and I, we have a marriage ministry. And I use that word a lot in our marriage, because to be married, you have to be selfless, one word, to have children and to be the parent that you need to be a parent, you have to be selfless, because that child takes 24, my baby takes 24/7. I mean, he takes all of my time, care, everything mama has to do, or no, whatever, it's on the back burner, and I have to take care of the needs of my children and my home. So you have to be selfless in a marriage. You have to be selfless, in with your children, and then even to be a servant, you have to be selfless. And I
mhm,
like the way you said that, because that's what I often relate to myself. I'm a servant. When people ask my time, are you an evangelist? Are you a teacher? I'm just a servant.
I'm just a
I'm just
servant
here to
asking
serve
you,
you.
right? And that's and when ask somebody that's not in service to others and listen to what they say, and then ask somebody who is in service and listen to what they say. And this is the reason why I love having asking that question, because people really have to really think about it, right? And it's where your heart is aligned at.
Yes.
It's truly where your heart is aligned at. And I find that to be the most truthful thing for an individual, because it shows their heart. It shows it shows who they truly are.
Yes.
That superpower aligns with you, the path that you're on, and the heart that you have, and it's aligned with service.
Yes, it is.
And what that looks like, right? But do that. Ask somebody that the next time. Ask somebody who's a CEO of a business, and then ask somebody who's out there doing nonprofit work. listen to the differences that they have, right?
Yes.
It reveals a lot about who a person is. So now, with that being said, Lashanda, I know you got to go get the baby boy and everything. And guys, I had the chance to meet the little man a couple weeks ago when Lashanda and I talked. Adorable, beautiful child, beautiful child. And I want to say thank you again for tuning, for coming on the show, sharing your journey. People, her information is down below. If you have not already, go to their YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you'll be notified every time that we drop a new episode. We are creeping up on 400 subscribers. We're still trying to get it on out there. Maybe it's not for you. Maybe you know somebody who can benefit from them. Do me a favor, share it along with them. But a brief update, we do have the conference. It is going, and we are moving ahead. Got a lot of amazing things coming. The my men's group, Resilience, is going on this Saturday. So if you're a man and you're out there and you're looking for support, we are virtual, we are in person. Find it. It's on the event, guys. It's free to attend. And for everyone else out there, thank you guys for tuning in for another amazing episode of the Grief Let's Talk About It podcast. Thank you guys for your support. We're going to see you guys in the next one. Lashanda, again, thank you for everything.
Thank
And
you.
we're going to stay in contact because we got a lot more stuff coming up as well. For everyone else, guys, go out and enjoy your day. If it's cold out there, stay warm. And we're going to see you guys in the next one. Peace.